Hey everyone, welcome to Motorcycology. My name's Jonathan. If you guys are new here, welcome. And if you're returning viewers, welcome back. Thanks again for your support. It's greatly appreciated. So in today's video, I'm back in the garage and I'm working on this C3 Corvette. And the goal today is to remove the power steering pump. Take off the pulley and put it on a new pump and maybe put the new pump back in position. That's my goal. And I'm gonna get started on it. It doesn't really look like a super difficult job for this to get done, considering I have everything else out. So let's get into it and see how it goes, and hopefully you'll find this useful. So once again, as a general reference, I like to refer to this Haynes manual. They're great. It's an old manual and it's perfectly suited for this type of C3. And the particular chapter that it's in that I'm looking at is chapter 1017, and it's all about power steering removal and installation. Other than that, there's not much in this book that can help, so we'll take it from there. It's just nice to have a backup reference. Let's get these gloves on and get to work. Time to start working on that thing right there. Well, these two bolts here are 9/16, so I'm going to loosen those. And as far as I know, that's all I have to remove on that. So we'll see. There might be something else, but I think that's it. So I'm going to try and get in position and get this out. I need to show you something though. Because of the super long length of the front end of this car, reaching into the engine bay is a real stretch. So we're looking at this entire front end here, and then coming from the front end up and over, which is about 2 feet, then over this dead space over here, and then there's another good 1.5 feet before you actually get to where you want to start working on. So it's a super big stretch. I wish I could fit into the middle to get that done. I might jump in there, but it makes it harder to film. So I'm going to try my best to get those things undone from way back here or from the side. So let's give it a try. Let's clear this out of the way for now. Okay, here we are. I don't imagine these are going to be too tough to get off because there's so much oil and grease down here, but you never know. All right, I stand to be corrected. Need more leverage. If you guys don't have various breaker bars, they're a really good idea to get because they give you that additional leverage that it makes the jobs much, much easier. Oh yeah, so I barely even had to push down on this one to crack it. So let's try this. Come on. There we go. Let's give it a turn. Perfect. So you can see that's cracked. That one, another shot down here. Okay, so these are loose enough here, and I'm going to go grab my normal ratchet and get these things off. Okay, should be pretty straightforward. Okay, there's one of the bolts out, looking like it needs a clean as well. Let's get the other one out. And you're going to be able to see that power steering pump already move. It's going to rest down on the frame here. There's the other bolt. That's out. We'll put that away because that's going to have to be cleaned. This sucker here is the bracket. That is going to have to be cleaned as well. This is going to be cleaned and repainted. Let's see if I can pull this out from here or if there's still connections on it. Okay, out we come. So looking down into the engine bay right now, I've been able to jiggle this thing out, and I'm just going to pull it off right now. And there's a couple lines that are at the bottom, but that's it right there. So here's the pump right here, looking well used for sure. Hopefully you guys can see it here. It's a little bit heavy, especially if you're leaning over the car. So it's out, and I'm going to take it to my bench and take the rest of it off and get it set up for the new one. There's the engine bay right now. The front of the engine is looking super sparse at the moment, and it's getting closer and closer to being a whole lot better really soon. Now that's an old engine, but we're going to get it going hopefully by the spring. Have all this stuff done. There's the two bolts that kept the bracket on, and what I like to do, like with all the other stuff, is put them in a Ziploc bag. I can't overemphasize how important it is to label your parts and put them into a bag, correctly label them so at a later time you can find them and reuse them. Not doing that means that you're likely not going to be able to find them afterwards, so it's good practice to do that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So power steering bracket, I'm going to call it. Power steering pump bracket bolts. There we go. That's good enough for me. And fire those in. Seal it up, and we're going to clean those and then return them into that pack. Hey, I've made it into my workshop. I've got the power steering pump here. I've already taken a few pictures of it just so I know where the pump sits on the bracket and also how deep the pulley is pushed onto the shaft of the power steering pump. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I put the new pump back on the bracket. So I'm good to go in that regard. I've also bought a kit that has a removal tool and also an installation tool. It wasn't very expensive. I think it was under $50, and to me that was worth it. So I'll likely use the tool again. If not, it's still a good deal. So let's get into it and let's see how this goes. So I've got this in the workshop. I'm ready to take the power steering pump off of this bracket, and after I get that off, I'm going to clean and refurbish this thing up. It's attached in a few places, here, and also one of the power steering lines come out from here. After that, I will be taking this pulley off of the shaft here, which as mentioned, I have a tool to do that. So It'll be easier to get this off once I get this thing out of the bracket. Oh, I just noticed there's another attachment down here as well. So I'm going to get to work on that, and let's get into this. So just moving along to get these nuts out of here. Hopefully they'll come off pretty easily. Aha! First snag, that's not going to fit in there. This may be more useful anyway. Get a little bit more leverage. Great. There's so much crud on this thing. It's hard to believe such a nice Corvette has all this crud on it. There we go. Get that one off. Save those. That stays on. Time for the larger one. Great. All right, I'm going to use some penetrating oil on there. Let that sit for a while and then come back at it. One of my least favorite wrenches right here. There we go. And that's out. Good to get that out of the way because it is annoying to have sticking out. So I'm just going to fire this out of the way here. Let's see what else we can work on here. This should be pretty straightforward to get off. Pair of vice grips may work. I'm just using force here to get this guy off. All right. That guy's off, put that away. Use a old X-Acto knife. Sharp blade, older knife. There, that one's off. Put that away. There, this gives me a little bit more room to work on this thing here. I'm going to try a power tool to get that off. that popped it off really fast. Put that away. All right, I'm going to leave that for now and move on to getting this thing off. Okay, let's check out this kit. This is the one that I got. It's made by Powerbuilt, which seems to be a company that makes a lot of this type of stuff. And it'll work fine. Let's crack it open here. Got a list of the parts, which are useful to know, and we'll be working with this stuff here, which is the puller. So I'm going to get set up with that. Inside the kit, this is the section that I'm going to work on, and I'll show you what those parts are. I'm just going to put some lubricant in there because it's going to help give it less resistance as it slides up, hopefully. Give that a moment to settle in, and I'll show you this part here. So you've got this thing here, which is made out of two pieces. This is the part that does the work. This is the part that keeps it in place. It's got a little spibbly thing on the bottom. Helps protect this thing here. It just sits in like this. And you also have this part here, which is actually three parts. So you've got a sleeve. This sleeve just keeps these two pieces in place as you use it. The cool thing about this is there's these lips on here, and those lips fit under this lip here, and they go together like this, so it fits underneath it, and that's what gives you leverage. And same with this side, so they both go together like that. This sleeve fits over them just to keep them in place, like so. So once again, let me take this off. You've got the lip here, and these guys here have a lip on them as well, and that goes underneath like that. There's also this part here where this fits under here as well, so it'll sit on there, and this bottom part sits under that. So it's a simple setup, but it's pretty effective. To do this setup properly, you want to make sure that you get the right side of this device up and the right side down. So the side that has a complete circle goes down, and the side that is more of an oval shape, as you see on the top there, that is the side that needs to go up. So you want to make sure you have those two pieces oriented properly. So that's basically your setup. You've got this guy sandwiched in between both of these dies, I guess, and one's holding it down while the other one is going to pull it up. So this is just going to keep these two halves together. So I'm just going to go and tighten that up a little bit. All right, so that is in there nice and tight, and I'm going to use a power tool to get this thing off. All right, all set up. Let's give this a shot, see how it works. I like to put a little bit of lubricant in there. Nice. Slowly raising it off. Put this a little bit less powerful. There we go. There is absolutely no way you could get this pulley off without this type of tool. So the tool comes off really, really simply once you're done. Just take it apart, pop that out, and then pull the pulley off. That's it. That's how you take the pulley off of it. What you're left with is just a bare shaft, and now I'm going to try and get this sucker off while I'm here, and then I'll be done with this old pump. There's the shaft, no damage. There's the pulley, and you can see how it would work because this is all one piece. This actual pulley is super light, and that's it for that tool. A single-use tool for me for now. And now I'm going to try and get this sucker out, and then I'm going to be more or less done with this old one. I also wanted to point out that to get this off, I was actually tightening, and that lifted it. So I wasn't loosening, but I was tightening it, and that provided the lift that was required. And you know, no wear to that. I think the top of this got more wear than anything else, but hey, did the trick. All right, time to get this sucker out. I've got a 9/16 socket in here, and I'm going to try and loosen this thing, which I don't really think it'll be an issue. Well, that came out pretty quick. All right, so that one's out. Let's see what's going on the other side. There we go. It'll be very easy now to just slide this guy off. Easy, relatively speaking. Just give me a sec to get this back together. I've got the old pump here. All I need to do is get this bracket off, which shouldn't be very difficult at all. Might even be able just to wiggle it off. Maybe. So you can't push it that way. There's a little groove in there, so you have to rotate it. Like so, and then pop it out. Simple. Anyway, I'm done with this one, and now I'm going to move on to cleaning those other parts, refreshing them, and putting the new power steering pump together. So stay tuned for that. All right, time to spray down some of these parts and try and get them clean. Shouldn't be too hard. Once again, using Chemical Guy's orange degreaser. It is super effective in most cases. I'm just going to let this sit for a few minutes and then scrub it down. Just trying to figure out what color I want to paint this when it's done. Black or maybe silver. Leave that in there. Gonna grab my parts brush, which is right here. You definitely get your money's worth out of these things. Beginning of the process here. Originally, you can see that it was black, still gunked up. That's so greasy inside. Looking much better. There's that part. Totally degreased, looking not too bad. Certainly a lot better than it did when it was dirty. These parts are looking pretty good right now. Just got to flip them over and do some more painting. The parts here are pretty much done, just waiting for them to dry for 24 hours, and then I'm going to put them back on the new pump, which for you guys will be next. There we go, these pieces are done. They're all painted, good to go. Decided to paint the ends of these so they look good. And this bracket as well. Plus this guy. It's not 100% perfect, but it'll look fine. And I'm going to get ready to put that on to the new power steering pump. So I'm going to get set up for that. So I've got the old pump here, and it's important to note that for the most part, you can see where the pulley has gone all the way in, and there's a little tiny area here, which is sometimes referred to as a witness mark or something like that. Anyway, I don't want to push the pulley any further on the new power steering pump than that. And I don't think it's possible, but either way, it's good to take note of that. So here's the new pump. Just going to cut it out of the bag here. I think this is important to note, is you don't want to use the old oil that is in your system, so you want to flush it out, which is not a problem for me since I've already drained all the power steering fluid, so won't be an issue. So as you can see in here, there are threads, which is going to make it easier for the setup. Let's open this up here. The tools I'm going to use are this thing here, which has a screw which is going to fit in to the power steering unit. I'm also going to use this product to help with the lubrication of getting that pulley on. So it's just engine assembly lubrication. Should help. I've used it before and should help it slide in a little bit easier. So here's the tool. This particular part here, the long screw, will go into the steering pump, and this is going to be used to tighten or push the pump pulley into the power steering pump. It's also a bearing as well inside it, so there's not going to be any movement on this side to damage the surface of the pulley. So everything should go pretty well with that. So this is the type of tool you want to look for to make the job a little bit easier. So let's set that up and start doing it. I'm going to just put a little bit of this ultra slick engine assembly lube on this component here. And it's kind of got like a fairly gooey consistency there. So there you can see it up close. It's kind of got a sheen to it, and we'll get set up with the tool and I'll show you how that works. I'm also going to put some of that lubrication inside here as well, right down the middle. Same process, just lubricate it up. Perfect. That'll be good enough. All right, so let's place this on top here. Making sure that's on nice and level, as you can see. And I'm going to put the tool in, which is this part here. This screw needs to go in there and bottom out on it, so I'll just screw that in. All right, that has firmly bottomed out on the power steering pump. And then I can just wind this down. All right, it's hand tightened, and I'll get a lower picture here. There's what you get underneath. So the goal is to drop this pulley down the shaft that way by using that tool right here. So let's give it a try. The other tools that I need are a small 1/2 inch wrench, and that is going to go on the top just to hold it in place. And my working tool is going to be this ratcheted crescent wrench, which is 11/16. And that will be used to give me the torque that's required to get that down. So I'll give it a couple shots and see if we can see it move. You can definitely see the pulley gradually move down the shaft of the power steering pump as I turn it. So with each turn it gradually moves down. I did notice that it takes a lot of turns to get it to move down, and that's just because of the size of the threads. It just gradually pushes that pulley very carefully onto that shaft. So everything is moving and working well in this case. It's really a good design, even though, you know, this was made in 1977. I think they still use the same basic principles. So it's a great design. Once you have the right tools, it makes removing the pulley and also putting a new pulley on a power steering pump relatively easy. And you could also do this while the pump is still installed in the car as well. You don't necessarily have to take the pump off the vehicle. You can definitely see it moving down there on the shaft and progressing well with no resistance at all. This is just another angle of the same process. So once again, you've got your top wrench holding that bolt stable, and then you've got the bottom wrench, which is actually doing the work, driving the pulley onto the power steering pump. Here I'm just doing the final stage, getting the pulley seated properly on the power steering pump. So just a couple more turns and it's going to be seated really well on the pump. It's almost in there. Couple more. There you can see that it is pretty much flush down there. And that is all that's to it as far as doing this. So to take the tool off, it's really easy. This has no pressure on it really. So it's just a matter of backing that off. Like so. And this just comes off like this. And there you go. I'm just going to check the height on this thing. It's pretty good. The pulley is on. Let me stand up the power steering pump and you can have a look. So here's the power steering pump, the new one, with the new pulley on it, or with the old pulley on that looks new. So this thing is now ready to put into the C3 Corvette. But for now, I'm going to put it in my parts container because I've got a little bit more work to do on the C3. And then this is going in hopefully in the next week or so. I have the lines, which I'll show you in another video, setting those up once I get in that position. So basically, if you're interested in C3 power steering pumps and changing them out or putting a new pulley on it, that's a good way to get it done. Hey everyone, that concludes the video on the power steering pump for the C3 Corvette. In the video you saw the removal of the pump from the engine, and I think that was the first time it was ever removed. Also, you saw how I got that pulley off of the old pump, and I did some refurbishing of the brackets and the pulley itself. And then I concluded the video with how to press that pulley back onto the new power steering pump. So it's good to go, and I'll get that thing installed pretty soon. So in the meantime, I've got a bunch more videos related to the C3 Corvette that are lined up, and I hope you stick around for those. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you all again in the next videos.